Hello, everyone, and welcome to our fourth gathering for Mothers Postpartum Justice. We welcome you. Today, we're going to talk about the journey to fatherhood, which we haven't really touched on in the past. It's about time we brought in the male voice when we talk about being pregnant and postpartum. So we have a wonderful panel today with us, and I'm co-moderating today with Todd Valentine, and I'll let Todd introduce himself, but I just want you to know that you can use the chat, and you can also, any questions that you have, you can use the question and answer button and put your questions in. So I'm going to pass it now to Todd, and we'll introduce the rest of the panel. Thanks, Todd.
Thanks very much, Linda. I'm glad to be part of the event today. Hi, everyone. I'm Todd Valentine. I'm a father of two living in Fremont, California. I grew up in the Bay Area and currently working as an educator with the 49ers. I've been doing science education throughout the Bay Area for the last 10 or so years. And with my employee resource group with the 49ers Build, Black Unity in Leadership and Development, we've been supporters of the Nourish Village and Mothers for Mothers Postpartum Justice. And I'm excited to share this great conversation with Linda, our panel, and everybody watching. For our Journey to Fatherhood discussion, we have some wonderful men doing great things in their communities. So I want to introduce them right now. First, we have Kevin Bremond. He's a father of three living in Oakland. He's a co-founder of Alameda County Social Services Agencies. He spearheaded the development of Alameda County father-friendly principles and is currently leading the implementation of Father Core expansion with Alameda County. So thank you for joining us, Kevin. And next, we have Dr. Algean Garner. He's a practicing psychologist in Illinois, serving as the director of behavioral health for a community health center in Chicago. He specializes in treating mood disorders, stress management, and family therapy, including parent-child conflict. He's also pursuing an additional master's degree in clinical psychopharmacology. So thank you for joining us, Algean.
Welcome, thank you.
And we have Jovany Portades, who is in our Mothers for Mothers Postpartum Justice Network. He's a father in the Bay Area, and he and his partner are in beloved Black Birth Centering program currently. So he's expecting another child on the way. So we're glad to hear his perspective as well. Thanks, Jovany. All right, so before we get started, I'll give you each a chance to let us get to know you a little bit better. Dr. Garner, if you have anything you'd like to add, please go ahead.
I'll just say, I'm really excited to be here, and I love the title, Journey to Fatherhood, because fatherhood is a journey. As I tell my clients that I work with when I'm helping them with their child, that children don't come with manuals. And I tell the child that they don't have a manual for their parents. It's a learning process. And it is one that can be wonderful, sometimes challenging. But I think that the most important part is really embracing the journey so that you grow and develop together.
Awesome, thanks so much. Kevin, go ahead and tell us about yourself.
Sure. I just want to clarify, I'm co-founder of the Alameda County Fathers Corps. I'm not co-founder of the Social Services Agency. That's so just to clarify. Yes, I am a father of three. My wife had our first child back when I was 19, and she's 24 now. My middle daughter is 21, actually. She just turned 21, and my son just turned 17 on the 14th of this month, excuse me. And I agree. Fatherhood is a journey, and you get better with the more practice you have. And I'm definitely a better parent now than I was when I was 19. That's for sure. So I appreciate you guys having this conversation.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Jovany, anything you'd like to say?
Yeah, I'm expecting a daughter, a beautiful daughter. I'm currently a father of a son, which is 8 years old. I got the opportunity to be a part of this birth because in my past I was in and out of prison, and I didn't get to attend the labor of my first child, and me being on the right path and finally getting it together, I get to experience and embrace this new life that's coming into this world. Um, yes, it's a lot. We'll be able to touch on a couple things, but for the most part, I'm happy that we got to put this together in a due time, and I highly appreciate the attendees that's attending. Thank you guys for attending, and hopefully we could share a message through this webinar.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Jovany. Appreciate you all. And to start the conversation, I want to try and connect a little bit to some of each of your expertise. And maybe, Kevin, we can start with you, and Algean and Jovany, please chime in. But Kevin, can you give us a quick overview of that father-friendly principles and Father Core?
Sure. The Father's Core, we started back in 2013. We started as a learning community for male service providers. So we wanted to build their capacity to effectively engage and support the needs of fathers. I work for First Five Alameda County, which is an organization focused on improving the lives of children birth to 5 years old and caregivers of children birth to 5 years old. First Five was started in 1999. And it wasn't until we started the Father's Core in 2013 that we had any father-specific programming. So for an organization that's focused on improving the lives of children birth to 5 years old and caregivers of children birth to 5 years old, to not have any father-centered programming or to not fund any father-centered programs is a pretty significant oversight. So we started the Father's Core in 2013. That first year, we identified 7 father-friendly principles. Those principles serve as a roadmap for organizations to more effectively serve and support the needs of fathers. Those principles were adopted by the Alameda County Board of Supervisors in 2013. In that resolution, they included language that strongly encouraged all social and family and community support programs to not only adopt the father-friendly principles, but take steps towards implementing the father-friendly principles. Like I said earlier, I was a young father, and I remember going to my wife's prenatal visits and not really being engaged at all. We're in the doctor's office, and they, for the most part, didn't really acknowledge me or look or talk to me or ask me questions. I was fortunate enough to be raised by my dad, and he had 4 brothers who have been part of my life my entire life. And so I knew how important strong men were in keeping me not going too far off track. Growing up in Oakland, though, I still made some questionable decisions with all of those great men in my life. So I got in this work because of that, because of the important role that my dad played in my life. And I wanted to support fathers with being the best fathers that they could be. We want to support fathers who are involved with staying involved, and support the fathers who are not involved with getting involved. And for the most part, in this work that we've been doing over the past 8 years, I have yet to meet a dad who doesn't want to be a part of their kid's life, even if they're experiencing barriers. All the dads that I have come in contact want to be. And our program is really set up towards advocating for services for those dads and supporting dads in their journey of fatherhood, So very appropriate title. I like the title as well. And that's kind of the Father's Core in a nutshell. We're an advocacy group. We are focused on systems change, so making our social and family support systems more father friendly, and just advocating for the rights of dads.
Right on.
Kevin, you hit home on a great point. The presence of a dad. In all transparency, I don't have a child of my own, but I do have a wonderful great niece who's now 8 years old. And she's been part of my life as well as with my wife since she was 4 months old. We would get her every other weekend. As a matter of fact, we have a salon date planned for next Saturday. But my father, who is now a retired Chicago police officer, gave me a great balance of what it means to be a dad. I could watch him kick in a door, but he could also bake a cake too. And so he gave me this beautiful balance of what it meant to be a father and really set a presence for me, which helps me, one, with my niece, as well as with a group I'm part of called I Am a Gentleman. And we mentor young men to help them become better men and help them become a gentleman. And having that strong foundation and having that presence in their lives has helped them because they have many different things going on in their homes, whether it's single parents or dad not present or dad in and out. Having a good role model and having a model of what it means to be a man and what a father figure should look like has helped them tremendously. We have sessions that run 10 weeks and they're vastly different when they start and when they get to the end. There's growth, there's development, they become a little more empathic, a little more warm, and it continues to grow. And so definitely we as men need to be present in our children's lives. So definitely appreciate that.
Thanks so much. I appreciate that. And I definitely took advantage of the first 5 program. My son's 10 now, so it's been 2011. And Jovany, I wonder if you can speak to anything in raising your first child and maybe getting prepared now, just kind of your thoughts on fatherhood overall. Oh, I think we might have lost his picture. Well, let me see. I'll move on and see if we can get Jovany back in just a second. But I want to kind of with that foundation, kind of talk about what the feelings are around preparing to have a child. I can kind of remember my first child, kind of the nervousness and being inside the Kaiser hospital, and a little bit like Kevin said, kind of feeling not really engaged, but trying to make sure you're doing the right thing. And so I wonder if maybe Algean, if you want to start us off, maybe you can kind of talk about what you've kind of known to go through, things that you can be doing to prepare, particularly mentally, because things change.
It's a big change. It's a dramatic change. My younger brother is 13 years younger than I am. And I remember my excitement when I found out that my mother was pregnant, and then the day of the delivery, I enjoyed it because I got the day out of school because they had to go to the hospital. But also in preparation for my great niece, I think the emotional change is big because you're now going from this individual to having another person in your life that you have to care for. And over time, I think hospitals and the delivery rooms have become more amenable and more accepting of men being present and really involving them in the process. But it's different. It can be scary. It can be exciting. I think sometimes there's like, what did I get myself into? And all of those feelings and emotions are normal. As I said before, there is no manual that you get that prepares you for being a dad. You have to go through it. You have to talk to other fathers. You have to build that support network that will help you be the best dad that you can. And one of the ways, and I've worked with a few fathers before their children have been delivered, and helping them work through their own issues. So sometimes there's a concern that I won't be a good dad because my dad wasn't good for me. And my position has always been, you don't have to be perfect. Sometimes you just have to be good enough. Be present, ask questions. Don't be afraid to, make a misstep, and then seek those individuals or groups that will help you get the support that you need.
I really appreciate those comments. I go back to my time when I was 19 and expecting my first child. And, you know, looking at it now, I really wish I was older when I had my first child, only because I think when you're older, at least for me, I'll speak for myself, I didn't appreciate the journey. You know what I mean? I was too busy being 19, so the crying at night or the getting up and those types of things, instead of embracing that and appreciating that as part of your parenting, I was just trying to hurry up and get her to go back to sleep so I can go back to sleep. You know what I mean? Or, going out with young children at that young age, you're so worried about them behaving instead of just allowing them to be kids, and and kids are kids. So that's one thing I definitely regret, is not enjoying the journey more and trying to rush it along. We want her to hurry up and get older so she can sleep through the night. We want her to hurry up and walk so that we don't have to carry her everywhere. We want her to hurry up and talk so she can say what she needs instead of crying, instead of just really embracing her journey and our journey as parents. So that is definitely one thing that I regret. But I will say it's not going to be bad to have 3 kids over 18, and I'm under 40. I mean, under 50, excuse me. I'm not mad. I don't regret that.
There is a joy in some of that.
There is a joy in some of that. It didn't make a lot of sense for my wife and I back then, but it's looking real good right about now.
And you know what, Kevin, that is a wonderful thing. And that's a beautiful point that, life happens, things happen. We can't go back and change time. So I would encourage any young man who is not a dad yet, wait, because we go through developmental stages of life. And if we can complete each one of those stages before we move to the next one, that's a wonderful thing. But just like once you become a dad, there are going to be different stages of development and different stages of the journey, and to embrace and enjoy each one of them. Like you say, you're like, I got 3, they're going to be over 18, and that's going to be a different stage. So at a certain point, you're going to have that empty nester, syndrome, but it happens. But I think the important thing is, as we walk through this journey, to enjoy those stages and to complete them as much as possible.
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in that I'm a birth and postpartum doula, and I've been so for 30 years here in the Bay Area. And one of the biggest joys that I've found in doing this work is helping dads become dads, because it's scary. It's scary for the mom tends to just kind of, she's maybe a little afraid too, but she's adjusted to the fact that this is hers. She's got to deal with this no matter what. She has to deal with it. And the father is always, like Kevin says, sometimes they just are not even acknowledged by the medical profession. They're allowed to come, and they're allowed to be in the room, but they're really kind of sometimes just extra baggage to the medical profession. And as a doula, my job was always to try to be a team and bring that father into the process, as well as helping the mom, because watching your partner, your wife, have a baby it can be terrifying. And there are some dads along the way that I've been with who really step up, and they're right in there. But for the most part, it's like deer in the headlights, I even have one dad one time. He said in the postpartum visit, he said, Linda, I have to tell you that during that process, I just assumed my wife was going to die. And I spent most of the time formulating in my head while I'm watching her how I'm going to make this phone call to her parents to tell her that I allowed their daughter to die in childbirth. He said, but then I looked over at you. You didn't seem to be too concerned. And I thought, well, if Linda isn't concerned, maybe I should just step back a little bit and enjoy this. So it's, having that doula in the room, it really does help the father get to next step in the journey and enjoy it, and not be totally traumatized from the whole thing. And then on the other side of it, once the baby is there, to see them try to figure out what to do with this little thing that they're sure they're going to break, and just encourage them to get in there and be hands-on and be a hands-on father, and just do it the way they need to do it. And I tell moms all the time, I say, they may not do it just the way you do it, but if you don't let them do it, you'll be doing it all by yourself. So let them do it. And they do it different, but they're not going to kill your child. So let them do what they're going to do. And to see guys go from, a husband to a dad is such a marvelous thing to witness, because it's beautiful, it's really beautiful. And I'm really glad that they're allowed to be in the delivery room now to see that process happen.
And the system is grateful to have someone like you, because you can bridge that gap. Again, it's about having that support system. My younger brother and his wife just had their first child, and we've spent several evenings because neither one of us sleep, so we're up at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning about how to raise a child. And so the young man had some health issues, but he's getting better. But he was like, "What do I do, Gene?" It's like, well, I did this with you. So, but my brother was an easy baby comparatively.
I really appreciate your comment when you said, Linda, about dads doing it differently. And that's very, very, very true. I mean, and kids need both.
Yeah, they do.
They need both. They need the nurturing of a mom and the nurturing of a dad, and they're different. And it's okay. And it all adds to the well-being of the child, which is the focus, right?
Yeah, even something as simple as how the baby's held. Dads do not hold babies the way moms hold babies, and that's okay. And babies are very adaptable. They realize, oh, this is the one that holds me this way, so it's still cool. So, yep. But we have to let the parents know that this is okay, because the babies may not come with a manual, but there's lots of books out there that somebody's read. And I tell them that the baby didn't read the book. You read the book and you got the baby doesn't care what's in the book. So you kind of have to just figure it out and know that as long as you use some common sense, it tends to work out pretty well.
And I would definitely encourage us to move away from the allow framework, you know what I mean? And that's and that goes for not just the parents, but court. And when you get into family court and things like that, and you use words like visitation when you're talking about parents and having access to their children, I think we really have to do a better job of letting dads know that they are not allowed, that they are, you know what I'm saying, that they are actually part of their kid's life, and that is your role. So you're not nobody allows you to see your kid. It is your right to see your kid, and embrace that.
Dads do not babysit.
Dads do not babysit. Thank you. That sounds like a T-shirt to me.
Fatherhood needs to be validated. It is a valid position. So.
It is the expectation. I wonder, I think we have Jovany back. Jovany, any of this resonate with you? Anything you want to bring into this?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard when you're brought up in a dysfunctional environment, family as well, and you're taught different morals. I mean, like just watching what you think is okay, you grow up to believe that what you see is okay. And as you get older, you start to dissect and decipher the right and wrong from what you learn. And just being able to see that is beautiful, because now you can teach your child to learn what you constituted in yourself and your learning by, I don't know, it's just like I can't I can't speak for everybody. Everybody got a different background. Everybody was brought up with different circumstances, and I just it's just beautiful just to be a part of the family, just to continue to create a healthy relationship between the family. Because if you don't want to be there, then you're not going to be there. It's your choice to be a father. And I know as men, we don't think about that when we're engaged in, you know, making a baby. I mean, we're not we're not expecting a baby. Some people plan it out. So sometimes it just happens by the grace of God. But yeah, I'm just glad to be a part of this, and I'm really just trying to, you know, I seen I know what a father's supposed to be like, and but being a father, it's all experience, and you gotta want to be a father to be a father, and you
Right.
can't, and it's not always right, and it's not your fault. I can say that it's not your fault. Um, that you don't want to be a part of the family's life, it's a choice.
Right. And what I'm hoping people can get from this conversation that we're having is just to understand or raise that awareness in themselves. Like you said, not expecting it, to actually have that expectation. Um, and I think that brings it back to the expectation of being present for the birth, being present for the child, just kind of setting those expectations and hopefully raising awareness to make sure that that's understood overall.
Yeah, and I think, and Jovany made some beautiful points. Thank you for that. But that the presence of a father, I think, or I liken it to planting seeds. And, it takes time to cultivate and for that seed to grow and bear fruit, because the root is going to grow down before the leaves start coming up. One of the best examples I can give is I grew up with my dad working on cars. And so as a kid, I was the gopher. I had to go get the tools. But fast forward to today, I'm his mechanic. I work on his car. And so that was one of the seeds that he planted in me, not only to be a mechanic, but to give back to him as a dad, because he imparted that time and that energy into me.
That's an interesting point you bring up, because I think I was being raised by my dad. I kind of ended up the opposite. I'm a kind of a rebel. So everything he did, I didn't. My dad's a mechanic. I know nothing about cars. My dad plays he plays every instrument. I don't know how to do music at all. So that's an interesting point.
It's okay to be rebellious. I had my moment.
Now, I think we can kind of shift into being a father. So we talked about kind of what we do to prepare, and maybe bring this into a little bit too. I know for me, I feel like my emotions grew. Like once I had my son, who's my first, and then now my daughter, I can feel like, however happy I've been, I'm happier now. However frustrated I've been more frustrated than that. If however, sad, proud, all of these things kind of grew bigger in me. I wonder if that's kind of your experience, or kind of what people can do to prepare for that change in their lives.
That's a good question. I don't know if there's anything you can do to prepare for that, because you don't know it until you're in it. You know what I mean? But it definitely changes your life. The focus is not you anymore. The focus is the well-being of your children, or your one child, however many kids you have. Fatherhood it doesn't stop. Just because my 24-year-old, I'm still involved with her. My dad, he's still involved with me. I talk to him all the time. and lean on him all the time. So it's something that once you start, it doesn't stop. And that's not a bad thing. It changes along the way. There are different stages of fatherhood. There are different challenges. There are different successes that you experience along the way. But you're a father forever once you're a dad, and that's not a bad thing. That's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, that journey is a beautiful thing. I don't know that there is a magic wand or magic bullet that says, hey, I'm prepared for fatherhood. But, and of course, I'm biased because I'm a psychologist, but I would encourage anyone who's getting ready to become a father to prepare. You might want to talk with a counselor just to increase your own self-awareness, just in case there are some unresolved issues, so that you can be the best dad that you can. Many times I think these big changes like fatherhood can open up some wounds. And if we are not prepared to deal with them, it can impact your ability to be the best parent that you know how. And so, as I tell a lot of people, particularly whether you're becoming a parent or becoming a psychologist or counselor, the journey or the crux of the journey is that level of self-awareness so that you know how you can be the best in that particular moment. And so, I think about some parents who are overprotective or some fathers who are overprotective. Well, it's not just because your child is here. There's some stuff that you haven't dealt with that you may want to be with, so you can allow your child the freedom to grow. And that's what it's really about, helping your child to grow and develop to be the best that they can be.
That's interesting. You said something that really, we just had a training today because part of the Father's Course, we offer workshops every month. And our training today was on exploring the father wound. And so that is a heavy training. And it's more, like I said, our trainings are mostly geared towards providers. So it's exploring the father wound and understanding how that impacts how you serve families. Because it creates, depending on what your relationship was with your own father, it kind of dictates in some cases how you engage with families, particularly fathers. So that is a great point, Doctor. And it is important to explore those wounds, ideally before. And one way to do that is to seek out, like you said, counseling, but also seek out fathers groups, so you can talk to other fathers about the journey of fatherhood, about their experiences, and hopefully you'll have a skilled facilitator who can help you guys work through some of those different topics that are specific to the needs of fathers. But I would definitely strongly encourage fathers, new fathers to be to find a platform where you can meet with other dads and talk to other dads and learn from each other and learn together and support each other, because it is important. I can't say that I don't know if I would have been ready to do that at 19 years old, but I wish somebody would have exposed me to that and forced me to do it, because it would have put me in a better place, I think.
And the good thing now is that there are more resources available than were in previous years.
Definitely. I think there's definitely been an increased awareness of the need to serve and support fathers. And that's part of the work that we do with the Father's Course, is really raising that awareness and supporting organizations with building their capacity to serve fathers. And that's really one of the main focuses of our work.
I wonder if you all could speak to being a Black man in America and raising Black children in light of all that is going on in the world today and in this country today. And I think being a father of any race is hard, but I think being a Black dad to Black children is especially tough. And I'm wondering if you could speak to that a little bit.
I don't want to dominate the conversation, so I definitely would, Jovany, if you want to jump in, please feel free. If not, I can, Okay, I'll just say, it's scary, it's scary. Like I said, my son just turned 17. We're teaching him how to drive now. And, You know, my daughters are 24 and 21, and so they're out in the world now. My wife and I, we don't really have too much say on where they go or how late they stay out, or you know, those types of things. And I grew up in Oakland in the 90s and in the 80s, and we know how Oakland was in the 80s and 90s. It was pretty brutal. So it's scary. And then you turn on the news, and every other day is somebody being shot and killed by the police. So for me, I just try to be as open and honest with what I know, what I've experienced. But I also remember what I was like when I was 17, 18, 19 years old. I wasn't listening to what my dad said. You know, if I was, I probably wouldn't have been a 19-year-old parent. So it's about, it's really about, you know, trying to give them as much information as they can so that some of it seeps in. And I know it seeps in because even though I act like I wasn't listening, I literally repeat word for word to some of the things my dad told me. So it definitely seeps in. But to answer your question, it's scary. It's scary, and you want to protect them. But you also want to allow them to grow and to be able to navigate this world without you holding their hand. So it's tricky. It's tricky, no doubt. No doubt.
Yeah, I tell new parents that, you know, when they're the first child and they're so worried about everything, you know, are they sleeping the right way? Are they eating the right way? Are they pooping the right way? And I say, you know what? Save a little of this worry for when they drive away from the curb for the first time by themselves.
Oh my God.
Because then it's over. That's when I cried.
Yes.
Because I was like, now she's out there in the world. I don't know where she can going, and everybody's trying to kill her with their car. You know, so, you know, you save a little bit for them because you're going to need it.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. I would live for my biggest issue to be a poopy pamper or you know, right now I'm like it gets really scary when they get older. It's hard when your children turn into young adults. That's for sure. Yeah. It's scary.
It is very scary. I agree. And my view is a little bit different. And I say that because growing up, my fear is my father coming home at night, you know, being a police officer, and he worked nights, but he served faithfully for 31 years and made it home. Now, my fear is, am I coming home at night? You know, I got my 8-year-old niece, and in the blink of an eye, she's going to be 16 and driving. My nephew is 6 months. In the blink of an eye, he's going to be 17 and driving. And so now the fear is, what is going to happen to them? You know, I recall, and it's really heartbreaking that the conversation my dad had with me about how to handle myself with a police officer, we still have to have today, you know, and it should not be that way. However, it is what it is. But I think for me, what gives me a sense of calm is this is where I walk in faith, that I have to do the best I can for my niece, do the best I can for my nephew, do the best I can for those young men I'm mentoring, and walk in faith that it's going to be okay. Because if you worry too much, then it makes it difficult for you as that parent, as that father figure to make the next step. And so we have to give them the tools that they need and let them build what they build.
That's very true.
I want to add on to that, Doctor. I mean, being a part of a child's life is a journey within itself. But also, we have an intricate role in teaching a generation of that. Like my child's gonna be born this year, I got an opportunity to change that generation through my righteous teaching, and I want fathers from all over to recognize that they have the opportunity to change and to create a legacy through their children. It doesn't have to be wealth. It could be some type of trait that they picked up from you or whatever the case may be. But just know that you have a major role in the generations to come after us. And that it's a beautiful thing once you look at it from that point of view. When you have that paradigm shift to where you got that perspective, just to be a part of it is is magnificent. Yeah.
Man, I'm gonna have to have you come out speak to some of our young men. That's a great
Exactly.
point. I love that. That's powerful. Thank you.
I was going to say that
Thank
that
you.
is really powerful. And, thinking about the way that we have this, we have a long legacy of make, being there to produce a better life for the next generation. And I was just having this similar conversation with my sister. We come from kind of a large mix of families, so we get a lot of input. And we were talking about just the way that we change and the way we interact based on how people talk to us, talk about us, about our hair, our skin, the way we act, the way we talk. Kind of makes us feel some kind of way about ourselves or what we do. And just making sure that our kids, when they're growing up, they're comfortable with themselves, they're confident, they're, things that we didn't necessarily have. So there's a lot of ways to talk about how you want things or how you can be scared for things for your child. And you guys mentioned growing up and leaving the house, and my son's 10 and I'm already thinking about that.
Honestly, one of my biggest fears is when Autumn turns to me and says, "Uncle, let me have the keys to your car."
Oh,
For the conversation.
That's funny you say that because my daughter just walked in from work and she just got her license in the mail the other day. And she walks in right before I'm about to jump on this call asking, I just want to go pick up. And I'm like, can we? Yeah, it is. And no matter how much you prepare them, no matter how much you pour into them, I agree with you, doctor, when you say you can't worry too much or it will consume you.
Right.
But for me, it's impossible not to worry.
Right.
But you're right. You can't worry too much because it will consume you because it's a lot to worry about.
And if I may do a reframe, be concerned, but not worried. As like I tell my clients, I'm always concerned about you because I want you to do well, but I'm not worried. And Sunday, when the Bears are on, I'm definitely not thinking about you.
Which there's a question in the chat that kind of goes along with what we're talking about. And Franklin said, "This is our first child, and I had no idea that I was my mother. So I'm the one who wants to take her to the emergency room whenever she coughs or she cries while changing her diaper. I think something's wrong and it drives my wife crazy. Or any of you me?"
When Autumn was beginning to teeth, she would run a fever, and I freaked out. And I would run to the pharmacist. She's running a fever, and the pharmacist looked at me and she's like, "Mr. Garner, she's just teething. Calm down. You don't need to get any Tylenol. You don't need to give her this. Just keep her calm. Give her a teething ring, and it'll be okay." So I get it.
That I was actually the opposite of that. I was it's fine. It's nothing to worry about. But see, I grew up. My dad is the second oldest of 9, and so he was one of the first to have kids in the family. And so I grew up as a kid. I grew up around a lot of babies. They were my cousins. So I had a little bit more experience than the average first time father, just because I was a young teen with a lot of babies around. So I wasn't as worried as some.
Yeah, to piggyback on top of that, just growing up in a diverse community where I I picked up. I'm Filipino, and just by talking to me over the phone, you would think that I'm African American. I get that a lot. Just growing up in that type of neighborhood, I was born and raised in San Francisco and raised in Vallejo, and just being in these type of neighborhoods it made me, what you call that? Ooh, I can't. What you were saying, I had a lot of kids around me too. I was taking care of kids, and that made it easier on me. But I tend to forget that sometimes because, and now I can't experience it with the kids of my own. So some people may have experiences through trial and error through their family, because we all know it takes a village to raise a family, raise it out at least. But yeah,
I guess I can add too. I mean, I kind of feel what Kevin was saying about, having people not being that way because you're one of the first to have it. I was the first in my family to have kids. And so now with my sisters, I was the one who kind of freaked out a little bit when, anytime somebody got hurt or something like that. But now I can kind of pass that on to my sister. We talked about learning and growing. Tell them like, oh no, it's okay. Like when this happens, it's fine. They'll take care of it. They'll heal. They'll do this. They'll do that. So definitely merging into that lane of being a little bit less scared of all that. So that was a great question.
And children are resilient. I think it's a cat food commercial where the mom is sitting there with her cat and the kid says, "Ma, I hurt my arm." And she's like, "It's okay." And she's like, "It's bleeding. Get 2 Band-Aids." She's sitting there chilling.
I love that commercial.
To that point, yeah. We get there, and kids are resilient. They will bounce back. They'll be okay.
I tell people that babies are made and they come here to survive their parents for at least the first year. So it's kind of hard to hurt them during that first
year. Love
that.
I did see something else in the chat that I wanted to bring up. Carolyn wrote, Georgia is one of the worst maternal mortality rates in the US 17th worst in the world. We've just come off of this week actually being, Linda, if you can help me out with this question, because we want to talk a little bit about it.
It's been Black Maternal Health Week all week. And Black Maternal Health Week is a week that was brought about by the Black Mamas Matters Alliance a few years back when they felt like we needed to focus at least for a week on the wellness of Black women giving birth in America because our statistics are so bad. We're three to 4 times more likely to die in childbirth than a white woman. Our children are apt to die 50% more than a white woman in the first year. And so there's been all kinds of events this week about it. And one of them was that President Biden signed in a proclamation that this was Black Maternal Health Week. So that's something that has never happened before. So to get that kind of acknowledgement. So I think that's really great.
Yeah, and part of why I ended up looking this group up and wanting to support is, those statistics exactly, and trying to have this conversation so we as men, we as fathers can also be supporters, can be advocates for the moms in our lives, whether it's our partner, whether it's our sisters. I wonder if any of you can kind of speak on experiences regarding that.
Or how do you even feel around the fact that is even a statistic? How do you feel as a Black male having to support Black women through birth when we know that these things are happening to them in birth and labor?
It's challenging. I watched a documentary, I think last February, called When the Bow Breaks. And it looks at the health disparities that even African-American women and Latino women who are affluent, they still have a lower birth rate like counterparts. And so that the pressure of racism still exerts itself on our pregnant women and our moms. And so it can be challenging to figure out how to support them so that they are healthy and we have healthy children when we are still facing our own struggles. I think, again, the best thing that we can do is to be present and to build that support network.
And from our program's perspective, I think one of the ways that we're trying to, I don't know if that's a huge needle to move, but I think we want to address the issues around healthy relationships, healthy co-parenting relationships. That is something in our work with fatherhood that comes up on a daily basis, multiple times a day, in fact. And as providers, what can we do to foster healthy relationships among co-parents from, the time that mom is pregnant or, even after, whether dad is in the house or out of the house. I think the importance of healthy co-parenting relationships is critical, and there aren't a lot of supports out there for families to navigate those complicated and complex co-parenting relationships. And I think that is something that we need to take up as a community of service providers, to really working towards normalizing healthy co-parenting relationships, because I think the opposite is true now. It's more normal for parents to not get along, and that's whether they're living in the same house or not, than it is for parents to get along. And that's whether they're in the house or not. And I think that is something that we need to work on, is really promoting the critical importance of healthy co-parenting relationships, because I think that contributes towards stress and all of that. So
yeah, and one of the other sad statistics is that, women die or are killed more by their partner when they're pregnant than than any other time. It's just like, oh, she's pregnant, well, let's kill her. And it's really sad. It's really sad that it gets to that place that people don't have the support around how to relate and how to navigate that journey. And I think there needs to be more of that.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to some of the conversation we were having earlier about really the need to address our personal issues that we have. And there are not a lot of places for mothers or fathers to go to receive that support with mental health. And I think there's a huge need for that.
And there's a lot, it seems to be a lot of like singular help, like the mom can go talk and the father can go talk, but I think it needs to be more couples counseling going on. And there's so many, like, we were talking about in Beloved that, it should be a place and the county should be able to fund couples counseling, because, you're talking about trying to keep this healthy structure together to raise these children and to support the mom postpartum and support the father and becoming a father. And there's nowhere for them to go to talk about how to do this. And it's not something, talking about not having a manual. There's nobody to tell you how to do that either. So
right. I mean, I've been married 22 years and we still have our stuff, you know what I mean? So it's not easy, and it shouldn't, and these parents should not be left to do it on their own. And that's what a lot of cases are.
Yeah, and that's why it goes south, because there's no outlet for them to talk to anybody about it, So it's bad.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on that. It should be, I don't know if it is, but it should be more resources for couples, especially for co-parenting, like just and communication as well, because without communication, there wouldn't be no understanding. And being able to understand someone's mindset or have them understand their own mindset as well will help uh, generate a more stronger bond between the parents, especially the children, because I feel like if the parents cannot communicate on a open based term towards understandable level, how can the father be a part of something that he wants to be a part of when the communications, the lines of communications are disrupted due to a lack of communication or just understanding. So I would love to hear. I mean, just to be able to see if there's any more resources for men like me going through these problems that I could deal with, because I'm currently having trouble with this.
Yeah, and it's important. It's just like building a house. You build that house on a weak foundation, no matter what you put on top, it's going to topple. And so communication is a key piece to a strong relationship. And I would encourage any couple, whether you're just starting out or you've been together 100 years, there's a book, I read it every now and then myself, called The Five Love Languages. And what it does is it gives you a foundation to communicate to your significant other, because we all have a different love language. And it's like this, I use the analogy, we men, we'll go out, we'll hunt a buffalo, we'll bring it home, cut it down, cook it up, put shingles on the roof, cut the grass, and we think our wife knows that we love her. And all she wants us to say is, I love you. So we have to be able to communicate in a language that our partner understands. So the five love languages gives a great foundation for that.
Yeah, and we're all about postpartum with Mothers for Mothers, and after a woman has a child, she is a different person for a while. That postpartum no hormone person is kind of a mess, to be honest, and she needs a lot of support around that from not just her partner but from everybody. I mean, we at Mothers for Mothers, we nourish them, we give them food for 6 weeks afterwards, because that's food is medicine. But being a partner to someone who's going through postpartum, whether it's baby blues or postpartum anxiety or full-blown postpartum depression, you have to have tools for that, and how to talk with her and how to deal with her and how to support her. And if we don't have this for men to do, it becomes a disaster, because you really don't know what to do, because she isn't who she was, 2 weeks ago. She's somebody else for a little while. She cries a lot, and when men have no idea what to do when we start crying. So she's just a crying, blubbering mess, and then you have a crying baby, and so what are you supposed to do? And so they really need to have somewhere that they can go and talk to, even if it's just other men. I feel it's really important that they know that they're not doing this alone, that Kevin and Algean and Todd, all of their new moms are a mess. It's not just her, it's not just yours, they're all a mess. So let's talk about how we can all get through this together. It's so important for moms groups and for fathers groups to have that support around people, because it's, in our culture, we don't see what it looks like to have a baby and what the family looks like after it has a baby. Other cultures, they do see it. They know from little tiny babies what it looks like when there's a new family, and they know what being pregnant looks like, and they know what having a baby looks like, and they know what women are like afterwards. But we don't have that here. We isolate our new moms, and so we don't know what's going on behind the door. And so it's really important to have that kind of support, for sure. So I don't know if you guys can talk to how you navigated through that mess, but
it's interesting you say that, because I had 3 kids, and I never remember being told that your spouse is gonna go through this. I mean, I remember hearing a little bit about postpartum, but I don't really remember hearing about just that change and how things may be hard for her, and you need to be there to support. It was more about the kid. Now you've got this newborn baby, and that's going to be hard, and this is what you need to look for that, and not so much about what to expect with mom. So that would have been helpful to know.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I definitely remember hearing about it and knowing that something was up, but yeah, you don't have the full picture. So I think that's an excellent point. And I think it goes to something else that popped up in the chat. How can we get tools to fathers when they're having a child, to get into support groups, get starter kits, for each of the fathers that help them with fatherhood. So I mean, that's something that I would put on mine is, we said we're focused on the child, forget about mom sometimes.
Yeah. I'm going to put my email in the chat because while we do not provide direct service to fathers, the providers that we work with do. So I'll put my email in the chat, and we have several programs that we can refer dads that you're working with to. So please feel free to reach out.
Awesome. Yeah, we appreciate that. I wonder, my next thought was if you can maybe talk about some of those support services, whether it's the groups that you work with or something that Alameda First Five does, even mentioning some of the importance of the first 5 years raising a child.
Yeah, so
you have people from around the country, so if you know, like national kind of organizations that people can tap into for that too.
Right. I know fatherhood.gov is a place where you can find a bunch of resources. But as far as now that we're doing everything virtually, it's pretty accessible to no matter where you are. So we have a group that we convene every fourth Friday of the month. It's called Dad-scissions, where we bring in kind of content experts, share a little bit about whatever it is, whatever the particular topic is for that week, for that month. And then we go into different breakout rooms and allow the dads to kind of talk amongst themselves about the information that they just heard. Again, a place where they can find support from other fathers, receive good information from content experts, and just a place where you can come and, like you said, Linda, talk to other fathers that are going through some of the similar experiences that you may be going through as a dad. So there's that. We also work with a number of organizations who serve and support fathers. So I don't have any of their specific information here right now. I know we have Chris Gibson was on the line earlier. He runs a fathers group for the Alameda County Fatherhood Initiative out of the Public Health Department. He does a lot. They also offer boot camp for new dads, which is a workshop where they bring in what they call veteran dads and then new dads or dads to be, and they go through kind of what to expect when expecting, basically. But that's just a one-day workshop. But he has ongoing workshops that he does, convenes for fathers groups. So please feel free to reach out. Shoot me an email, and I will definitely connect you with some father-specific resources.
Algean, I know you have to take off in a little bit. Do you have any parting notes of wisdom for the new fathers that are on the line?
I would say don't panic. It's going to be okay. Enjoy the journey, embrace the journey. Don't be afraid to talk. I think there's a lot of power in saying, hey, I don't know what I'm doing, and it's okay, because not every father knew what they were doing at the beginning. Build a good support network, and just know that there are resources and tools and opportunities to help you be the best dad you can be. But more important, above anything, be present and be available.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that. I guess we'll see if you need to take off. We appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, guys. Appreciate meeting all of you. And Todd,
Thank you for being here.
Take care. All right.
Thank you. Yeah, and Jovany, if you want to pick up, yeah.
I just enrolled in the 2 classes in Alameda County, which is about to start. It's a curriculum for fathers, and it's called Family Paths. I don't know if you guys are familiar.
Yep.
So I just enrolled in the I gotta go on my email, but I made a choice to engage in these groups just to be where fathers, or we got questions and we could just collectively discuss our concerns, what we learn, experiences, just being able to share, just to taking that time within, just to share and to learn as well. So that's why I had joined Family Paths. But Family Paths is another resource.
Good for you, Jovany.
Yeah, thanks for pointing that out, Jovany. They are a good support. They
Right.
are regular attendees of the Father's Course, so you're in for a treat. And just so you know, I just posted the links to register for the next Dad-scissions. It's next week on the 22nd. And then my colleague, Carla Keener, just posted the link to Family Pass to talk about, so you can find out more information about the workshops that Jovany just mentioned. Thank you, Carla.
Yeah, that's excellent. We appreciate that. Now, I think another topic that I wanted to bring up was one on discipline and behavior. I hoped Dr. Garner would be able to give us a little bit of insight as well. But, you know, it does get hard. We talked about it a few times, being able to hear and listen. And, you know, especially in the Black community, I've been on discussions around social media about how to discipline kids. And a lot of us grew up, you know, getting hit, kind of growing up a little bit with fear, and that being kind of a tradition or a legacy that gets carried on, and or maybe even a point of pride. And, you know, I just wonder if any of us have any thoughts on, you know, positive disciplining, if that, you know, what effectiveness there is. If we can just have a discussion about that.
This is a tricky one, you know, because I mean, you obviously are not supposed to spank your kids, but that is something that we do in the Black community, and it has an impact. You know, I spanked my first daughter, and I regret it every single day because I see her. She is I think she's a different kid because of it. I don't think she's as confident as she would have been if we didn't spank her as much as we did. I don't think she is. I just think it's not something that builds up a child, and it doesn't work. The statistics shows that it doesn't work. You know, kids who get spanked don't get in any less trouble than kids who get spanked. In fact, I think it's actually the opposite. So that's my view.
Yeah, I mainly wanted to talk about that because I think it's important to discuss. I've talked about it with, you know, some of my family. I ended up missing on some of that. I had a you know, family who did, and I didn't get it, so I didn't give that to my kids. It's not something that I was able, you know, to pass along. But I have family members who do and swear by it, and, you know, just being able to have that discussion openly about whether we do or don't. We're seeing statistics, we're seeing information, and we're seeing, you know, that it's not as effective as, you know, as we would hope.
Yeah. Sorry to butt in, but chime in, but I was getting whoopings, bad ones, like, and growing up in San Francisco, we were able to run around. You know, me, my little cousins, we're as a group, little kids run around as a pack, and just getting whooped on, and still no fear in us. Like, I mean, but it's your approach. Like, uh, it's your formula how you want to teach your kids. But it just made me sneakier. Like, just I don't know. I like, because, like, if I, you know, want to do this or want to do that, I could probably get away with that by not getting. You know, it's just it makes you. I don't know. It could go on, but it's better ways to confront your child other than a whooping. So.
Yeah, we did talk about communication earlier, communication with a partner. You know, I'm learning it's just as important to communicate with the child, whether, you know, I have a 10-year-old and a 6-year-old, but as soon as they're able to communicate, it's kind of on you as the parent to continue that dialogue and open things up with them to hopefully help them understand, as opposed to maybe making demands, threats, things like that, get into that territory where, like you were talking about, getting scared of the bad behavior as opposed to wanting to behave well.
We have a question in the chat about someone who is about to adopt their child, and the question of when do you think is a good time to let them know that they are not their biological father?
You know, that is not my expertise, so I am not even gonna act like I know the answer to that question.
I hear you.
Right.
Yeah, that would be very difficult. Unless
The doctor might have been a better person to answer that question.
I was going to say, unless you know someone who's gone through that themselves, it might be a difficult way to answer that appropriately.
I think it goes back to maybe find a counselor that you can talk to that has better input on that subject.
And I would also say, I think probably the adoption agency should be able to provide some information around that, I would think, to help prepare parents who are adopting. But I like I said, I do not know the answer to that.
Yeah, and with the 10-year-old, there are a lot of things that are that same kind of question of when do you start talking about this, that, and the other thing with them. So whether it's adoption or anything else.
Sex. So, okay, I think we're nearing the end. I'm going to open it up for any more questions. If anybody has questions that we didn't answer, you can put them in the question box or even in the chat.
Any personal questions, I'm open to answer.
Kind of a long question in here. I'm reading through it.
I know there was one earlier about family planning, kind of, and trying to encourage people to have their children a little further apart, at least wait until the baby's 18 months to have a child. And, you know, that's healthy for everybody involved, but it doesn't always happen. But something to aim for, I guess.
So my colleague just posted a bunch of links in the in the chat. One is a link to our webpage where there are a bunch of resources there. The father-friendly principles are there. The tools to support the use of those father-friendly principles are there as well. I encourage you, if you're our service providers, to take a look at those. She also posted a link to we provided mini grants to 8 organizations to offer father-specific parenting education and support groups. Some of those groups are wrapping up now, but there are still some that are still happening. So if you want more information about fathers groups, you can click that link. It's the Fatherhood Partnership, and that'll give you the contact information and the organizations that are offering those father-specific parenting education and support groups. And then there's also the link to the Family Pass that Jovany mentioned, which is also one of our many grantees who are offering father-centered parenting groups.
And I think we will have this chat saved. So once this gets posted, everybody watching can share this. We'll have those links up, I believe, with the posting of this too.
Yeah, I believe you can go to the Postpartum Justice YouTube channel for Mothers for Mothers, and it will be there. And also, I believe that you'll receive an email that has a link to it if you registered. I am very happy to have sat in on this father discussion. I did not grow up with a father, so I'm always interested in how men think about being fathers. I know it affected me in the way I have lived my life, and I think it's important. I met my dad. I think I saw him 3 times in my life, and he was a nice man. But not having a father figure in the house is different than having one. So I hope that Kevin, you can go about teaching all these men, especially young men, how to be good fathers, and to. I think one of the things I really, really hope is that we teach men that they don't have to raise these macho men, that little boys can be tender. And I see it with in my family, and I'm just like, oh, stop. But I think that's one of the biggest things that I hope for, that we let men grow up knowing that they can have emotions, and they can cry, and they can feel, and they don't have to be hard and calloused and tough all the time. It's really important, I think, for us to impart that to our children. I thank you for letting me help moderate this, and I will pass it to our last words to Todd.
All right, yeah, I also want to thank everybody who joined, our panelists as well. To just jump off of what you just said, I feel the same way. I raise my kids to let them be who they are, as opposed to try and mold them into something. So I hope this conversation can shed some light on some of the ways that future parents will be able to react and be empowered to be the support that's needed out there. So again, I want to thank everybody. Appreciate you all.
Kevin, do you have any last words for us?
Yeah, please.
And Jovany?
Yeah. I just really I appreciate you guys having this topic. I think our work at the Father's Corps is one of the main focuses is highlighting the true narrative of fatherhood. And when I say the true narrative of fatherhood is that fathers are present. The ones who aren't present want to be present. Fathers are active. Fathers are nurturers. And I think that needs to be the message that is highlighted instead of the other message that gets a lot of airtime. And we know what that is, and I don't even need to repeat it. But it's programs like this that help us in our journey towards, making that narrative the narrative that is shared by all and seen by all. So I appreciate you guys. Thanks for the invitation.
And Jovany, do you have any last words for us? Are you there? Oh, I hope you didn't freeze. I think we lost him again. Personally, I'm very happy that Jovany joined us. I think that added a lot to this conversation. He's an amazing young guy. And I appreciate him being a part of this panel. His kids are going to be lucky to have him as a dad, I think.
Absolutely.
I'll leave it to you, Todd, to wrap up.
All right, I guess with that, just thanks everybody again. Thank you to our panelists, and thank you to everybody who's watching. Take care.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.